So yesterday we began the new parak on Lamed Hey Amid Beis. It was describing tircha, that if a person is on a roof, he has fruit drying on his roof, and rain is coming, he's able to go ahead and lower the rain through the skylight, to be able to do that. And because of hefsid mammon, because of his hefsid, to be able to do that. I looked up the halacha. It's only if they have the siba of rain. In other words, if there's no siba, if there's no reason that you should do it, you can't do it. That would be a tircha. The makam hefsid, that the rain's going to come and ruin the fruit, you're able to go ahead and lower it. But stamasai, just because you want to lower it, that you can't do. That you can't. So Magen Avram and Tov Kuf Chaf Aleph. Okay, so now we had dialogue exactly what the lashon of the Mishnah was. Mashchilin, manshirim, a whole bunch of different nouns becoming verbs, and we're up to Tanan. Asa was up Tanan 2, 4, 6, 7 lines from the bottom on Lamed Hey Amid Beis. Tanan, our Mishnah learned Mashilin Paris Derech Ruba. You're able to take Paris and lower them through the skylight beyontif. Now ad kama means as much as you want. There's no amount ad kama. So I'm Rabbi Seira, I'm Rabbi Asi, Vimila, I'm Rabbi Asi, I'm Rabbi Yochanan. Kaisa Shushanin, like we learned regarding Shabbos. What does it say Masechta Shabbos? Mifanin arba v'chamesh kupay shel tevin v'shel tfua v'nei orchim v'nei bittul beis hamedrash. You have, let's say, guys, for certain reasons, you might have a lack of space. You have boxes of tevin, boxes of tfua, and they're taking up space. And you have orchim that come to your house, or you have people to come learn. So you'll be able to go ahead 4 or 5. So l'chayra, we can use Shabbos as a dugma. That's what you could do by Yontif. 4 or 5 boxes you can lower. Fred the Gemara v'dil mishani hasa. Maybe it's different over there by Shabbos. The ikka bittul beis hamedrash over there, since it's bittul beis hamedrash, will allow you to move so much. Aval hacha, but by Yontif, the lekka bittul beis hamedrash, where you don't have bittul beis hamedrash, loy, maybe you will not be able to go ahead and move 4 or 5, maybe less. Okay, so in other words, you don't have a raya from Shabbos as to the amount, because there's a svara to say by Yontif. You can do less, because Shabbos is bittul beis hamedrash, because you have people coming to learn, but by Yontif not. Inami hasam hainu taima the arba v'chamisha kupay shari mishum Shabbos the chamira v'lo yasil zuzebe. You know why we allow you to go ahead and move so much? Because since Shabbos has a chi of skila and a chi of karis, so therefore you won't come to be mezalzel Shabbos. Avol yontif to kill, but yontif which is a lav and not skila and not karis. For us, if we go allow you to move 4 or 5, right? Maybe klal klaloi, maybe we won't let you do it all. In other words, there's a reason to be more lenient by Shabbos than by Yontif. So you don't have a raya from Shabbos to Yontif is the amount that you can lower. Inami leidach kisa, guys. Let's go the other direction. That's the way I would have learned. Hasam hainu time with the leka hefsid mammon. You know why you can only add the word only move 4 or 5? There's no monetary loss. The rain's going to ruin your crap. Afilu tuvanami. Maybe you can even move more than 4 or 5. So either way, guys, there's no raya from Shabbos to Yontif. Either Shabbos can be more mekel or Shabbos can be more machmir, but either way, you have no raya to the amount. Okay, now we're going to have a series of questions that are going to end up with a teiku that we're not going to answer. A series of very interesting questions, which is going to take about half of this amid. This in no way or form this stuff anywhere near last night's stuff, guys. So Hashem was good to us after last night's stuff. I know I left you all with a little, I know I came home exhausted, a little headaches, cheshbainis, right? But this is much easier. Pasam Tanan. Masechta Shabbos we learned, Avaloyas Oitzer, not the Oitzer. Now the ratio over there is that you're speaking about clearing away 4 or 5 boxes. But then it says Avaloyas Oitzer. Shmuel says, my Avaloyas Oitzer. What does it mean? Oitzer is a word of is a storage case, not a storage place. You can't, in other words, you can't move out the whole storage place. What does that mean? Avaloyigmor esa Oitzer kula. 4 or 5 boxes, fellas. Let's say you only have 4 or 5 boxes, then you won't be able to move them all out. Why? In other words, when you clear it out, you may notice the floor. There may be holes in the floor. You'll fill them in, and that's a told of boine. That's a told on Shabbos of building. So when can you go ahead and do 4 or 5? That's when there's more, and you can leave. But if you're going to clear out the whole area, that you cannot do. because maybe you'll go ahead and notice the floor is uneven and you'll even it out. Good. That's what Shmuel says like Shabbos. Hacha by Yom Tif, where you're clearing off the roof. What happens if you're going to end up clearing off the whole roof? Will you notice something in the roof that would need leveling off? Then you may come to go ahead and be over on Boina. Hasam, who b'Shabbos to Asim Mishum Dechamer, but b'Shabbos, the reason why you can't clear it out because it's Mochamer. Aval Yom Tif, the keel, which is a lav shapit dummy, you would be able to clear out the whole area and not leave any boxes. Aydilma Hasam the Ikabitl Beis Medrash Amrit Loi Hacha Deleka Bitl Medrash like Kol Shekain Madach by Shabbos. We said one of the reasons you can clear out is because you need places of it to Talmidim. Aval, if you're going to clear out everything, even despite the fact that Talmidim won't be able to sit, because you're worried about Mashra Gumais, we won't allow it. Certainly over here where there's no Svara Bittel Beis Medrash, we won't allow it. So there's two ways to learn, either a Kula by Yontif or a Chomer by Yontif. Shaila number one. Shaila number two. For Hacha Tanan, we learn over here in Masechta Yontif, Mashilin Peris Derech Aruba, you're able to lower the fruit through the skylight, B'Yontif. For Amar Rav Nachman, Lo Shanu, that you can go ahead and lower, Ela Ba'isa Gag, only that roof. Again, just to reiterate, they used roofs as places. They didn't have front areas. They had a chutzner, was communally owned. You had 4 amas in front of your Pesach of your chutzner, and then you had the roof. And the roof, the tashmish was used. The roof was used. It wasn't like it was used all the time. That was your private domain. So now you have a roof, and you have a roof next to you. Can you go ahead and lower the fruit from the skylight on the other roof? My roof, I know you could. Mashilin, it says you lower. Can I take my dried fruit, go off my roof to another roof and lower through that skylight? You can't. Someone else's house. Again, Shabbos, it's Yontif. From Rav Nachman, Leishanu el Boisa Agag. Aval Megag Legag, another roof to another roof loy. V'tanya Nami Hachi, Aim Etatl Megag Legag, you can't carry from one to the other. Afilu Kisha goes the same shav, and even when they're equal. That's by Yontif. Hasamai, what about Shabbos? Right? So in other words, the first shaila was, what about Shabbos, Yom Tov vis-a-vis clearing out all the boxes? Now the shaila is, what about Shabbos going ahead and going from rooftop to rooftop? So we're going vacillating back and forth between Shabbos and Yom Tov to see if they're parallel. Hacha over here by Hilchas Yom Tov, who the Asam Mishum Yom Tov the Kiel Vasi the Zuzei Bay, Ava Shabbos the Chamir like Vasi the Zuzei Bay, Shabbos you will be able to carry roof to roof. In other words, we're worried since again the svara being that you'll be more makel by Yom Tov. By Dilma, Mahacha Dika have said Paris Amit Loy. Madachacha, where you're going to take a loss and we don't let you go roof to roof. Hasam the Leka have Paris by Shabbos, but there's no have Paris Loy. Kol Shekain that you won't be able to go roof to roof. Good. Second Shiloh.
Didn't we? Shabbos was a long time ago, but something's banging in my brain that people used to go from roof to roof and use that as a way to carry things.
I think it was in Erevin.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was the chutzah. We had the shaila of what? You remember the picture, right? We had the picture. we had a picture on the rooftop. Whether I don't think it was the shaila of the chutzah pierced to the other one. Remember, big one to a small one, and you had these. Whether they're available and it's considered, you can go from one to the other. I think that's what you might be remembering. Make believe that's what it is. So like I sound intelligent. Okay, thank you. Okay, now third shaila. Hacha de Tanya lo yishalshem bechevel bechaloinos. You cannot lower that the chaloin is on the side, so you're gonna have to lower it down on there and then pick it up from there and put it in the chaloin, guys. So it's 2 steps. Lowering down and picking up. That's a tircha yisera. Lo yishalshlem, you shouldn't lower bechevel on the road bechalonis to a window. Lo yordim derech sulam, I know go down steps. The sulam is a ladder, but also steps. That's by Yontif. Hasam by Shabbos Mai. Hacha by Yontif who does the leka bittel base medrash. Avol Shabbos tika bittel base medrash Shabbos dummy will allow you to go ahead and clear off that area through the chaloinos. Dilma hacha dekehevse Paris Armeloi, Hassan Bleka Paris Harris like Kol Shekain, and with all these 3 shilas, the Gemara says Teku, Tishvi, Yataris, Kushos, Abayas, Eliyahu will come and answer all these questions. Okay, the Mishnah said, guys, Mechasenes Aperos. If you're chayra, you're worried about the weather, it's going to ruin your peiros. You can take a kli and cover the peiros with the kli. Are peiros edible on Shabbos? Absolutely. Peiros are edible on Shabbos. So I'm able to take something that's not muktzah, a kli, and cover something that's not muktzah peiros. Let's say I have something that's muktzah. Let's say I have bricks. The bricks were made from earthenware. If they're getting wet, they're going to go ahead and become spoiled. But we know bricks are muktzah. Am I able to take a kli, which is not muktzah, and use it for an object that is muktzah? Can I do that or not? Can I take a kli that's not muktzah and use it for something that's muktzah? That's machloikis between Ula and Rabbi Yitzchak. That's going to take up most of the daf. So I'll say it one more time. Here's a brick, right? Can I go ahead and take something and cover the brick? Why shouldn't I be able to? Because the brick is muktzah. So I can't take something that is not muktzah and use it for muktzah. Whereas if this was peiros, that I could do. Okay, so now that's machloikis between Ula and Rabbi Yitzchak. Right? A kli can only be nitel for something else. Nitel. That's So Ama Ula, for afilu avira delivni, says Ula, even for bricks that you're able to bricks in a row, you would be able to take a kli and cover, despite the fact that the bricks are muktzah. That's what Ula says. Rabbi Yitzchak says no, you can only take a kli for peiros, only for fruit that are not muktzah. Machlokes. First, we're going to ask on Ula, guys. First, we're going to ask on Ula. Rabbi Yitzchak goes according to his reasoning. The Amar Rabbi Yitzchak says the following: Masechta Shabbos, ein kli nitel, ela l'davar hanitel b'Shabbos. A kli is only taken l'davar nitel b'Shabbos. Something that's not nitel, something that's not muktzah, a kli can't be taken for. So since the bricks are muktzah, ein kli nitel for those bricks, because they're a kli can be taken for peiros, because peiros are not muktzah. But for livni, for bricks, you can't take it. Tran, we're going to ask on Ula, guys. That Ula says you could take. It says in our Mishnah, Michasin es peiros, bekalim. You could cover peiros with kalim. Peiros in avira delivni loy. Peiros, yes, but not bricks. Peiros, yet, but not bricks. Why are they here? What? Excuse me, who's doing this? Okay, let me.
That's Yonah. It's not Dobie.
Okay, so we have this Shiloh over here. We have the Shiloh. L'chayra, our Mishnah says peiros in mashma. You can only take the kli for peiros and not for bricks. A kasha on Ulo said you could even take it for bricks. That's the Gemara's kasha. And for the Gemara, hu adin afilu avidalivni. You can even take it for bricks. For I did a ton of Reisha, Mashilin Peiros. Since we learned in the Reisha, you can go ahead and lower fruit. Tana Sefer Nami Mechasenes a Peiros. We learned in the Sefer also, you can go ahead and lower Peiros. In other words, we know there's symmetry in the Mishnah. You wanted to go ahead and be consistent, right? So since we began by discussing Peiros, lowering, we mentioned Peiros by covering, but not to limit it to Peiros. Even bricks you would be able to cover. The reason we looked peiros to cover is simply because to be consistent with the first case of lowering peiros. Tanan, our Mishnah says, "V'chin kadayayim v'kadei shemen." Now, guys, if you want to tell me bricks, guys, what you can cover kadayayim kadei shemen is peiros. It's peiros, right? It's a fruit, right? In other words, it's something that's not muktzah, right? So what's the chiddush v'chein kadesh yayim v'kadesh shemen, right? If you know what does that mean? It's kadesh yayim v'kadesh shemen. So it's mashma that kadesh yayim v'kadesh shemen, right? You could cover, and it must be that what? It must be that, but something else not. Says Rashi. Tnan v'chein kadesh yayim michti v'hani lo yari le'el. We weren't speaking to them before. Guys, what would be a bigger chiddush? To tell me you can cover bricks or to tell me you can cover kadeyayim and kadei shemen? Bricks. So by not telling me bricks is a right, you can't cover bricks. In other words, you're telling me you can cover peiros and you can cover kadeyayim and kadei shemen. Tell me the bigger chiddush. If you can cover bricks, which is muktzah, certainly you can cover kadei shemen, the kadei yayin, which are not muktzah. That's the kasha on Ula. And for the Gemara, you know what? We're speaking about. We are speaking about bricks. We're speaking about kadei yayin and kadei shemen that are tevel. You can't use them on Shabbos. You didn't separate your trumas from Maisa, so it's muktzah. That's ulis teretz. It's the same thing as a brick. Kadei yayin and kadei shemen. Hachanami mistabra that it's speaking about shemen, kadei yayin and shemen that you didn't separate trumas from Maisa from. The isal kedaita, because if you're going to think. Kadei yayin and kadei shemen the hetera hatanul aresha peris, fellas. If you're talking about regular kadei yayin and kadei shemen, that's not muktzah. It's no different than peris. Just like you can cover peris that are not muktzah, you can cover kadei yayin and kadei shemen that are not muktzah. So it must be telling me kadei yayin and kadei shemen that are muktzah, because now you have a chiddush. Again, if it's not muktzah, it's interchangeable, guys. Peris and wine and shemen and anything that's not muktzah, it's all the same. So if you're telling me Paris and kadei yayin and kadei shemen and the yayin shemen is tevel and you can't eat it because you can't separate trumas and maisa, that's a chiddush. But if you're telling me it's speaking about regular wine, there's no chiddush.
Can I learn that bricks from?
Yeah, and now and you learn out bricks now. That's the teretz. And just like you can cover tevel, you can cover bricks. 1,000%.
But if I learned bricks, I wouldn't know kadei yayin.
You would also know. You also know. It's interchangeable. But again, you do know bricks now. You know bricks. I guess it's more normal to cover kadei yayin and kadei shemen. You know, I'm covering non-muktzah. Once I'm covering I'm covering muktzah. It's good. Yeah. No, you have no raya, guys. Ken Zayin is speaking about yayin v'shemen. That is up geshet. That you did separate trumas and ma'isa. Kadei yayin and kadei shemen is tzrichle. Sakla gamina lehefsid meruva chashashu. When you have open fruit and it's being rained upon, you're going to take a big loss. If you have barrels of wine that are shipped upon, you're not going to take a big loss because it's minimal, not nominal how much you could do. So lefsid mu'ed lechashashu, hefsid mu'ed winachayish. Kamash malan. Tanan. Noisten kli tachas adel b'Shabbos. Now, guys, we asked until now on Ula, who said you could cover what? You could cover muktzah. Rabbi Yitzchak said you can't cover muktzah. Now we're going to ask on Rabbi Yitzchak. Tachas hadelef b'Shabbos. Tanan noisin kli. Our Mishnah said you can take a kli and put it underneath the dripping water. Now, stam dripping water, guys, is muktzah. It's dirty. It's shmutzadik, right? Shmutzadik of water is what is dirty. Well, shmutzadik means that. Shmutzadik.
Explain it to me.
I know shmutzadik means dirty. Meaning it's muktzah. So what are you doing? I'm taking a kli for what? For muktzah. Kasha on Rabbi Yitzchak, who says you can't take a kli for bricks. And for the Gemara B'del for Roy, you know what? Speaking about clear water that you could use and drink. Since you could use and drink it, it's not muktzah. Tashma, person machzeles al gabe levein b'Shabbos. You can spread a mat on bricks on Shabbos. That's pretty much not like Rabbi Yitzchak. And for the Gemara, the yasa mibinyana, you're talking about bricks that are left over from a building. In other words, you're not going to use for a building. The chazei lemizgala, you could sit on them. So since you could sit on them, what's the key? They're not muktzah. So therefore, Rabbi Yitzchak has held serve, right? Toshma, person machzeles agabe avonim b'Shabbos. You can spread a machzeles, a mat, on avonim, on stones, on Shabbos. Now, stones, guys, are muktzah. So you see that a kli can be taken even for something that's loy nittel, kasha on Rabbi Yitzchak. And for the Gemara, the chazon lebeis hakisei. We're speaking about pointed, sharp stones that you could use to the beis hakisei. Remember, they didn't have toilet paper; they would use this. But the bottom line is, since you could use it for the beis hakisei, it's not muktzah.
These prepared stones for that purpose.
It's right. Toshma, person machzeles agabe kaveris devarim b'Shabbos. You could spread a machzeles on top of a beehive on Shabbos. The chama mifnei achama, guys. The havamina in the sun in the summer season, ubig shamim, and because of the rain, mifnei gashamim in the rainy season in the winter. So I'm able to go ahead, guys, and put a covering on kaveres to save the bees from the sun or from the rain. And again, it was speaking about summer and winter. Ubilvad shlo yiskaven lotzud, provided that you don't have in mind to capture the bees. Provided you don't have in mind to capture the bees. Kasha, it's muktzah. Guys, It's muktzah. Beehive is muktzah. Yet you're able to cover it. Kasha on Rabbi Yitzchak says you can't cover bricks, or you can't cover anything that's muktzah. And for the Gemara, Hasanami dika devash. There's honey. Since there's honey in the beehive, it's not muktzah because you can eat it. Amalei Rav Ukva Mimeshan Rav Ashi. That's good in the summer where there is what? Where there's honey. The ikad devash. It seems that they only manufacture honey in the summer. They don't manufacture honey in the winter. So how can you cover it? You just told me you can cover it in the winter for shamim. How can you cover it in the winter? It's muktzah. And you can't tell me there's the vash because there is no honey in the winter. It's good to see you, Mordechai. Thought you were getting ready for the island season, Anyway, so guys, you hear? It's geschmack. Okay? It says, you only need it for those 2 chalas. Guys, you know what they would do? They would take 2 honeycombs and they'd leave it in the hive for the bees to eat over the winter. So since there is the vash there, good, it's not manufactured, but there is the vash there. Since there's the vash there, it's not muktzah. Fred the Gemara, they're for the bees, they're not for you. They're for the bees, they're not for you. And for the Gemara, so guys, let's go through it. Says the Gemara, you could cover a beehive, and for the Gemara, it's not muktzah because there's the vash there. Afraid the Gemara is only the vash in the summer, and for the Gemara is the vash year round. If you go ahead and have in mind the two things that you say for what? For the bees. So if you have that in mind, so it's not muktzah. Good. Now, Fred the Gemara says the Gemara. Now, guys, I've told you this many times. The Gemara will only bring a case to tell me a chiddush if you can't tell me the chiddush from the first case. If you could tell me the chiddush from one case, you'll only bring one case. The Gemara only brings 2 cases when you can't go ahead and tell me the chiddush from the first case. So now, so let's say you had the 2 chalas for the bees. You didn't think about them, meaning you didn't have that in mind. Then usher, it will be usher to cover because you can't go ahead and cover something that's muktzah. Yeah. Adetani ubivachla yiskaven lotzud. Why do you have to go ahead and say the reason? The issue would be only if what? If you don't have in mind to go ahead and capture the bees. Liflug velisni b'dida. You could tell me a chiddush in the case of the shtei chalos without having in mind to capturing. You wouldn't have to bring it in mind capturing. The medavam amurim, guys. When can you cover the beehive? Is shachashav aleim. When you thought about the shtei chalos and you made it, you were mazing it, you were making it, the 2 chalos, and it's not muktzah. Avaloi chashav aleihem. If you didn't think about the 2 chalos in the 2 bees, not beehives, the honeycombs, that the 2 honeycombs that you leave for the bees, if you didn't think about it, then usher, it will be usher. So why did you have to go ahead, guys? We said it's mutter. Usher is you can't capture. Forget capturing. Even in the case of mutter, I can make it usher. It's only mutter because I thought about it to make it be making it. If I didn't think about it, it's not for me. It's for the bees. It's mutter. So why did I have to bring the case of lotzud? So the Gemara answers hachikama. Here's the way you read it. Afa pisha chashav aleihem. Even though you went ahead and thought about them, ubulvad shlei iskaven lotzud. In other words, even after muktzah, you got another problem. Good, you remove the muktzah problem, but you have a problem of potential trapping. So you can't have in mind when you cover it that trap the bees. Okay. Okay, now, guys, we know by now that we have machlokes throughout Shas between Rav Shimon and Rav Yehuda as to the far-reaching aspects of muktzah, right? We spoke about this at length, that Rav Shimon doesn't mean he does not hold the muktzah. He doesn't hold the far-reaching aspects of muktzah, but he does hold things on muktzah. He would hold if you have fruit that is being dried, it's muktzah. It's being muktzah. You could be mason, but if not, it's muktzah. He holds of muktzah. There are things that are muktzah. So now, why did the Gemara answer when it said you have 2 chalas there? Why did they give the answer 2 chalas? Let's go through the Gemara again. Person is a machzeles, you can spread a macheles on a beehive. For the Gemara, it's muktzah, and for the Gemara, it is the vash. For the Gemara, that's only in the summer, and for the Gemara, the 2 chalas. We could have given a pasha of teretz. We could have said it's going according to Rav Shimon. Rav Shimon, who doesn't hold so far a muktzah. Ella, when you didn't give that teretz, it must be it's going according to Rav Yehuda, right? Mm-hmm. Now, why did then you said, Ubivad shlo yiskaven, to go ahead wide and capture the bees. Besides Muktzah, there's another famous machlokes between Rav Shimon and Rav Yehuda by Davish and Miskaven. I want to bring a chair from point A to point B. As I bring the chair over, I'm making a furrow in the field. I'm not mechaven for the furrow. Says Rav Yehuda Yechayev. Says Rav Shimon Yepata. Because Davish and Miskaven mat is pata. What do we say in the Brisa? We said in the Brisa, you go ahead what? And you can cover it, provided you're not miskaven, right, to capture the piece, right? The Mayu Kimta, Reb Yehuda, the Islay Muktzah. You just told me that this is Reb Yehuda. When you gave the teretz, guys, that it's speaking, it's when you gave the teretz, you gave the teretz that what? That there's two chalas there, and you think of the teretz that what? That it's according to Reb Shimon, so you see also like Reb Yehuda. Provide Reb Yitzchak, the Kasha guys according to Reb Yitzchak, Reb Yitzchak calls like Reb Yehuda. Ema Seifa, Uvad Shlei Yiskav and Lotzud. It didn't have in mind Lotzud, us and the Rebbe Shimon. Like Rebbe Yehuda wouldn't help, guys. Like Rebbe Yehuda, it doesn't make a difference. Your kavan, you chayiv anyway. Uvad Shlei Yiskav. It doesn't help like Rebbe Yehuda. Even if you're not mechaven like Rebbe Yehuda, you chayiv. So by saying if you're not mechabin, we're going according to the opinion Davishem Miskaven is mutter. So you have the ratio is according to the fact that you didn't you answered by two chalas, and you didn't say the ratio is according to Reb Shimon. Reb Yitzchak holds like Reb Yehuda in the ratio, and then you introduce Ubavachle Yiskaven the Seifa. That's Reb Shimon. So I got a problem. The ratio is Reb Yehuda, and the Seifa is Reb Shimon. Says more of a tizbah Reb Shimon for Habayi v'Rabbi Damit Shavayu Moed Reb Shimon Psikreshav Layamus. Guys, the case in the chair, it has to be that, right, it has to be avoidable. In other words, psikration means that it has to happen. If it's going to happen, in other words, if it's such a heavy chair, it's going to happen, then you don't say Dav Shem Miskaven. So by you going ahead and throwing a machtzelis on the beehive, if it's going to capture it, so it's psikration. It's like cut off the head of a chicken, it's going to die. Cover a beehive and it's captured. So even the safe is according to Reb Shimon. Even the safe is according to Reb Shimon. So we want to, says the Gemara. So well, you don't have a good teretz then. But by Reb Shimon, so Olam says the cooler Reb Yehudi. Olam, the whole thing is Reb Yehuda. The Hachamayaskina, the Ispe Kave. That this beehive, the chaloinais, their windows. So bees are able to get in and out. And we're speaking about closing those windows. Don't say Reb Yehuda ubavachle yiskav and lotzid on the base. Don't read it as Bilvad, you didn't have kavanah to capture. El'ema ubilvad shlo yasena mitsuda, that you don't make it a trap. Look at the top Rashi. No, there's no Rashi. Look at Rashi in the Amid Beis. Back of the Amid Aleph, guys. Amid Aleph. The Ispe Kavit. 3 lines from the bottom. Kavi are chaloinos, the windows, like a little, the honeycomb windows. Yesh bidot meseha, you have windows in its walls. The afal pishim echases pia, and even if you cover the main opening, picture guys a beehive, right, with a big bottom. Even if you cover the main opening, eina nitzudim, they're still not nutzed. You know why? Because they can fly out the windows as beehives as they do. If you don't cover also the windows, don't read it. Provided you don't go ahead wide and make it a full trap. You shouldn't go ahead and cover the chaloinas. So now the whole thing is Rabbi Yehuda. The ratio is Rabbi Yehuda, and that's why it's muktzah. And the safe is not davashem miskavin. You're not forget segresha. You're not making a trap. In other words, you can cover it provided you're not closing the windows. So as a pshit, of course, what's your havamina? You're trapping insects. You're trapping on Shabbos or Yontiv. It's asa gomer. If you're not going to leave the bees anyways out, it's trapping. So what do you have to tell me that you can cover the beehive provided you don't make a trap? Of course, if you make a trap, you can't cover the bees. It says in word pshita. So ma'odetema b'minay natzid aser. Something that you usually trap is asa. Shalei b'minay natzid muta kamash mlan. Fellas, do we trap bees? What do we trap? We trap deer. We trap bear. We trap raccoons. You weren't here. I had 6 raccoons on Sukkot. I found on my grill raccoon hair.
One short of an Ushpizin.
Thank you, Rabbi. Okay, anyway. What?
Good eating.
Yeah, as Yudi would say, it's good eating. Anyway, so usually trap, I would say the halacha trapping is by something that's normally trapped. By bees that are not normally trapped, even if you trap them, I would think what? Yapata. Kemash Malon, there's a halacha of trapping bees despite the fact they're not usually trapped. That's the chiddush.
Yeah, once you cover the window up.
But again, yes, they're trapped, but maybe the halacha of trapping is only by things that are normally trapped. So since you don't normally trap bees, even if you did trap them, you won't be chayav. That's the chiddush.
Now you want to trap.
What does he about mean? What does he remember? Yeah, yes, yes, you did.
It's true.
However, if you're leaving the house, if you want to come to them, it's because you.
But if they can't get in or out, you're trapping them. If you take a bee and you take a piece of meat and put it there, the bee has the meat, and you cover it up, you trap the bee. Good. I mean, it might be a happy bee, but it's a trapped bee. Huh? It's beyond the scope of this year. Now, says the Gemara, Rav Ashi gives a different teretz. Guys, look back at the Yom Aleph. Let me give you Rav Ashi's teretz. How do we start this? Look back at the Yom Aleph, guys. Go parts in go. Covering the beehive, guys. Parsin machzeles al gabi kaveris devorim b'Shabbos. Now listen to the words. Bechama, in the sun, mifnei achama. B'geshamim, mifnei ageshamim. We thought it meant what? In the sun, in the summer, in the rain, in the winter. And our problem was that bees don't make dvash in the winter. No, guys, it's speaking in Nisan where the sun is out and in Tishrei where it rains, but there's dvash there. So it's not speaking about seasonal. In other words, it's speaking about sun and rain, but not whatsoever. Says the Gemara inside. Rav Ashi says, Mi ketoni b'yamos hachama u'b'yamos hageshamim. Does it say b'yamos hachama u'b'yamos hageshamim? B'chama b'fnei hachama u'b'geshamim b'fnei geshamim ketoni. B'yumei nisin in the sun, u'b'yumei tishrei and in the rain. The ikka chama v'ikka geshamim the ikka devash. So in other words, the whole kasha doesn't begin. Again, let's go through this. How do we get into this, guys? Let's do the sugi again. Outside. We began the sugi. We said, our Mishnah said that you can go ahead and take peiros and cover with a kli. Ula was mechadish. Not only can you take peiros and cover with a kli, but you can even go ahead and cover muktzah. Something that's muktzah, such as bricks, you can cover with a kli. And we don't say ein a kli nitel ela davar shenitel. Right? We asked on him. We went back and forth, and we asked on Rabbi Yitzchak from a beehive. A beehive pashtus is muktzah. So, and yet you can cover it because of the rain or the chama. You can cover it. It says it's speaking about it's speaking about where there is honey. Since there's honey, you can cover it because it's not muktzah. Fred the Gemara, that's very nice in the season where there is honey. Why when there's no honey in the winter? Good. Rav Ashi answered that, right? Good. But without Rav Ashi, again, so even the winter, we're speaking about there is still honey. What's the honey? The two honeycombs you leave for the bees. Fred the Gemara, that's muktzah. And for the Gemara, no, you had in mind. Yeah, you had in mind. So since you had it in mind, it's not muktzah, and therefore you can cover it, right? Then we had a side, we digressed. 1 second, you're telling me muktzah, you're holding obviously like Rabbi Yehuda, yet you're bringing a bryce at the end that says, provided you don't trap the bees, davar shnei miskabin. Rabbi Yehuda has davar shnei miskabin is chayiv, so it doesn't make a difference what your kavanah was. That's what Shimon. So I wanted to say, Rav Shimon's might be sikresha. The Gemara said the whole thing is Rabbi Yehuda, and we're speaking about mamish trapping, not a kavanah, but mamish trapping. Okay. That's right. And then we have Rashi's teretz. It's speaking about the spring and the fall where there is available honey. And you could take a kli and put it underneath what? The delif b'Shabbos. Tana, im nismalei hakli, and if the kli gets what? Filled up, shoifich, you can pour it out. V'shoinin, you can repeat pouring it out. Veinin iman, you don't have to stop. It's not a big tircha. The mill of a baya dolif was getting dripped upon. Asal Kamei the Rabbi came from the Rabbi. Amalei Rabbi, his Rabbi told him, Zil Aisi Lapur La'ile Aleho Lepurcha Lahasam. Go put your bed in the same room as the mill. The Lahabi Kigraf Shel Re'ei, and then the mill will be like something that's disgusting. For Afghan, you'll be able to move the mill. We have halacha, guys, graf shel rei, something that is literally a pot full of excrement. But the halacha applies to anything that smells. Anything that's smelly, you're able to move in Shabbos. How are you able to take out on Shabbos or Yontif your garbage? Because your garbage has a din of graf shel rei. That's how you're able to take it out. Or else why be able to? Good. So now, he gave an eitzah. This thing is getting muddy. It's disgusting. If you move your bed into it, you have a graf shel rei, and then you'll be able to move it. That was Rabbi's. But Abayo was a chacham. So what did Abayo say? Yosef Abayo. Yosef Abayo v'kokashale. It was fair to him. V'chi oisin graf shel rei lechatchila. Do you make a graf shel rei lechatchila? In other words, can you move your bed to create a scenario of a graf shel rei? In other words, guys, you know what it's like? The garbage is in your back porch, and you move your Suda into the back porch. Can't do it. You won't be. This garbage is on the back porch, and it's not smelly and everything. You can't touch that. Nor can you move yourself out to go ahead to touch, right? So how can you? That's what Abaye said. How can I move my bed into the mill to create a scenario of graf shel rei? So adahachi, guess what? Nafal beirechaya. You know what happened? The mill fell apart. The Abaye. Alma said, Abaye, tastely. It happened to me. You know why it happened to me? The Avdi Adamar, because I was over on Mar. Now, l'chayra, does Rabbi disagree with the din of graf shel rei? Guys, you know where we had the din of graf shel rei? I'll remind you. Don't invite a guy to your house. You're going to have wine. He's going to dip the wine. He's going to dip his bread in the wine, and it's so therefore. So the Gemara, I said it's graf shel rei, so you remove it. It's disgusting. Says the Gemara, how can you make graf shel rei lechatchila? So don't invite him, right? No, Rabbi didn't argue on that, so you have a kasha. Over here, apparently, Rabbi is saying you could create a scenario of graf shel rei. Move your bed in, and now you have graf shel rei. Yet by the nachri, he didn't say anything. Let's see Taisus. Tasili the Avde Adamar. It happened to me because it says Abaye because I was all in the words of Rabbah. Afagav Damrin Leel, right? The Perik Yantif. The Ein Oisin Graf Shel Rei Lechatchila. Sfir Leila Rabbah. So it's a kasha. So Rabbah, how could he allow it? Sfir Leila Rabbah, the Hacha Shari. Over here, be permitted to move your bed into the room. Mishum Pseida the Beirichaya, because of the loss of the Beirichaya. Guys, what are we discussing over there? Inviting a guy over? Okay. Over here, it's a hefsid. Guys, we know b'makom hefsid you could do things. If it's raining, you could take it off the roof. All the hefsid meruba. So you have a hefsid over here. So Rabbi went ahead and said, "Einachinami b'makom hefsid you could make a graf shel rei lechatchila." That's one teretz. Oy mishum tlei mikri lechatchila kalkach. It's not such a lechatchila. Hacha kiva shahoya geshamim kvar mizalfim mebayis. The rain was already coming to the house. Ein kalkach lechatchila k'may maz bin nachri. Guys. By the case of the Nachri, as of yet, you don't have the graf shel rei. What's the graf shel rei? When he's going to take his bread and stick it in the wine. If you don't invite the Nachri, you don't have bread and wine. When Abaye came to Rava, why did he come with Shaila? It already was there. Since it was already dripping already, he allowed it. So there's a tremendous chilik between the graf shel rei over here and over there. Either b'makom hefsid he allowed it, or the mitzias of the graph was there because the rain was coming in the house, versus over there inviting the guy to create the scenario. That's the difference between the two cases. Now, what about the Gemara held graf shel rei is the stuff in the pot? Can you move the stuff itself? Let's say stuff that's out of the pot. Can you move that stuff? Says the Amar Abaya, Amar Shmuel, graf shel rei v'ovet shel mei raglayim. The graf shel rei, that's the pot with the excrement, or a pot that has urine. You can bring it out to the dump. Now, once it's out there and you empty it out, guys, it's muktzah masmias, right? It's muktzah because it's disgusting. Put water in it, and then you can transport it because there's water in it. Savamina, Shmuel held to say, graf shel rei agav mana. You can the rei itself you can carry because it's in a mana. If they atzmai loy, but let's say taking a glove and picking it up itself, you won't be able to. So Tashma. There was this rat, this mouse. The shtachach be asparmarki the Rav Simi. You found it in the spice box of Ravashi. Ravashi told him, "Nokta betzutzisav afkua." Pick it up by its tail and take it out. So obviously you can go ahead and it was by Kol Nidre. We were diving by a certain shul, and a guy came over to me and said, "Rabbi, it smells. There's I think a dead mouse next to me. I saw it. Can I move it?" I said it's graf shel rei. It's talking about that in halacha. The mamish that case, graf shel rei, like a dead mouse to be able to move. Okay, next Mishnah is pack, guys. Pack Mishnah. 3 dinim. Shvus, reshus, mitzvah. A shvus is something that we did, has no shaykhs to a mitzvah whatsoever. It simply is that you should be shavas. That's you should rest. In other words, refrain. A reshus has shaykhs to a mitzvah, and a mitzvah obviously is a mitzvah. 3 scenarios where the chachamim did not let you perform it. Either al shvus, al reshus, al mitzvah. Says the Gemara. Kol the Mishnah. Kol shechayav mulay mishum shvus. We're going to see exactly what that is. Anything that you be chayev mishum shvus, meaning you should rest, right? Mishum reshus, mishum mitzvah Shabbos, mitzvah, b'Shabbos chayav love b'yantif. Anything mishum mitzvahs b'Shabbos chayav love b'yantif. Ve'elei mishum shvus. What's the example? What will be a shvus be? Like oilam be'ilan climbing a tree. Guys, is there any mitzvah associated with climbing a tree? No, correct? But you can't climb a tree because of shvus. We'll see what that is. Is there any mitzvah associated with riding an animal? No, but you can't ride an animal. You can't swim. Is there any mitzvah to swim? No mitzvah to swim. Can't swim on Yantif. You can't clap your hands. You had this earlier. You can't clap hand to thigh. You can't lift your feet and move them up and down because of shvus. We said this is because mitakin kli, you may come to go ahead and make and fix an instrument. So all these guys are shvus, this because they have no shaykhs to a mitzvah. None of them have shaykhs to a mitzvah. Now all of these we're going to say does have shaykhs to a mitzvah. Leidanin, you can't judge. Leidanin, you can't judge. Judging is a mitzvah. V'loi mikachin, you can't be mekadosh nisha, right? V'loi mikachin, you can't be now. Be mekadosh nisha is the mitzvah. The Gemara is going to ask. V'loi cholzin, you can't give chalitza to a woman to mata her to marry to her to the street. V'loi miyabim, you can't go ahead and be miyabim your sister-in-law. Ve'elu mehem mishum mitzvah. What? We'll see. Ve'elu mishum mitzvah, and these are also mishum mitzvah. Loi makdishin, you can't make something kodesh. V'loi marichin, you can't make something erchin. The lashon of erchin alai is a set price based upon a person's gender, age. It's a set price regardless of their worth. In other words, the strongest guy in Klal Yisrael will be the biggest eved, is the same as the weakest person in Klal Yisrael if they're the same age. You can't go ahead and say Cherem Hashem all on Yantif or Shabbos. Nor can you go ahead and separate Trumas Maisa. We don't know this by now. We're not in a good place, right? You can't say Trumas Maisa on Shabbos or Yantif. All this was said regarding Yantif, Kal v'chayim b'Shabbos. Ein be'Yantif l'Shabbos ela oichel nefesh bilvad. There's no difference in Shabbos and Yantif, only oichel nefesh. Famous Gemara in Megillah. Now, loy oilin be'ilan. Why can't you go up a tree? Again, this we said is a shvus. Mishum shema yitlosh. Maybe you'll go ahead and disattach something. So you can't go up in a tree because you might disattach, which is an av malacha. Loy rachman al gabi behema. Gizei v'shema yatsa chutz l'tchum. It seems when you're on an animal that you're more prone to go outside of the tchum. You won't notice the tchum marker when you're on top of an animal. Hashem, when you're walking, you would. Shmamina tchumim deraisa. Guys, if a tchum with geyser, you can't ride on an animal because you may go outside the tchum. If the tchum is the rabbanan, it will be gezerah legezerah. Not so fast. The tchum, it's going outside tchum is the rabbanan. With geyser, the rabbanan, not the rabbanan. So Fred the Gemara, it must be if you can't ride an animal because you're going to go outside of tchum, you must hold tchum as the raisa. There is one opinion. Rabbi Kiva is a das yachid who holds tchum as the raisa. We hold it's the rabbanan. So therefore, there must be an other reason you can't ride a horse. It can't be as tchumim. That would be a gezerah legezerah. So there has to be an other reason. It can't be the rabbanan or the rabbanan. It must be another reason. Says the Gemara. Here's the other reason, as Harold John Kelowitz just said. El gezerah shemiyach doich semura. If you're riding a horse, you may need a whip. So what you might do, you may cut a branch to whip the animal. So therefore, you can't ride, and that being this is the raisa, disattaching from a tree. Therefore, and you can't go ahead and you can't go ahead and swim. You know why? Because you're going to make a tube. You're going to make something that make a tube. A tube. Yeah, look at Rashi, guys. It says 4 lines up from the bottom. Kli shel guma, it's a kli of rubber. Shel organize, you weave it. Va'osin kimin chavius, you make a rucha like a long barrel. Ulameidim by lashon, you teach people how to swim. Right? So that's the whole reason you can't swim on difficult Kolshkin and Shabbos. To be continued tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for listening.